Welcome, everybody. The start of the championship campaign begins here, and it begins in the foothills of the Pocono Mountains at Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Pocono Raceway is the site of the beginning of the HTL Cup Series playoffs, the EPI at 200 here in Pocono. I'm Carmen Hardy. Alongside me, joining me in just a moment, will be Stryxnine Pulsatrix to bring you the action here tonight from Pocono. 80 laps, 200 miles. Qualifying about to begin here shortly. It will be Caleb Eichler that starts off qualifying here at the moment, but here's an overview at what we're looking at here tonight on track. 2.5 miles, a very long, it's called the Tricky Triangle for a reason, 3 distinct corners, but 2.5 miles, a very long lap here, 55 seconds here at the Pocono Raceway. But we're kind of getting ready to get into qualifying here. And we'll pull up something that we were trying to do at Daytona. Pull up a little bit of some non-stop action here. Some wide open coverage, a la TNT 2011. Caleb Eichler, about to get on track here, is actually getting ready to run. Series rookie from Beaumont, Texas. Getting ready to queue up as drivers get ready to roll. Number 27, the Monster Energy Toyota Camry for Arrowhead Racing will kick us off for qualifying. We'll have several cars in line as you see them queuing up. But qualifying beginning here in Pocono. Again, for those that are listening in, for those that are watching wherever you are in the world, hopefully you're in better health than I am. But
Yeah.
we're watching qualifying begin here. We got an hour and 10 minutes to get through qualifying. We don't have as many cars tonight as we did at Daytona 2 weeks ago. 24 cars tonight for qualifying for this race. So, should be a quicker qualifying session despite the longer lap times. Going to be very interesting to see where everyone lines up here. 24 cars, again, in this race. Caleb Eichler, the first to qualify. One of the few non-chartered entries, but took part in 7 races this season. Has not had a lot of luck. Hoping to turn that around, but going through a lot of a learning phase this season, learning a lot of these tracks for the first time, and Pocono no exception. But Strix, obviously, we're at Pocono. You've kind of been learning on the go here, kind of learning these cars, learning some of these tracks, obviously coming from, obviously, a drifting background, being a huge part of ESDA, and obviously being in this our sports car stuff and Hyper GTP. But kind of taking a look at Pocono and how diverse this track is, how different this track is, kind of what's something that you've taken away so far early on here as we kind of watch Eichler take his first laps here?
I think one of the big things that I've taken away from the unique layout of this track is that you're not going to see racing quite like this anywhere else. Every other track pretty much has the same configuration. Like, even Atlanta being in basically a super speedway now, despite having the similar tri-oval layout that other oval tracks we're all familiar with. Even though Atlanta has changed a little bit, it's still pretty well the same. It still plays out pretty much the same. But here at Pocono, with all 4 corners of the track being so different from each other, being so asymmetrical, the strategy is going to be a whole lot more different. From what I understand, turns 1 and 2 are going to basically come through. Everybody's going to be going through those corners pretty much the same way, but once you get into turn 3, from what I gather, that's going to be where a lot of the key movements are happening. A lot of people are going to be braking early, entering the corner later to try and get the run onto the straightaway and try and get a run through and make some passes there. So turn 3 is going to be very vital throughout this race, and it's going to be really interesting to see what people are capable of doing. But so far, as we go through qualifying, I believe we've got a few times here, and currently the top fastest time is a 54.4 by Eli Sasek.
Indeed it is. It's a 54.48 by Sasek. William Britton's at a 54.84, so 4/10 the gap between the top 2 at the moment. But we're watching Bryce Bohr. His teammate, Matt Smith, made the playoffs at Daytona 2 weeks ago. Bryce Bohr looking to kind of play a supporting role, was the runner-up last season. in this competition. Missed the playoffs this time around, though. Just trying to make these last 7 races count for something. Try to get a personal highlight out of this season if possible. Winless in HTL competition. Trying to break that streak in these last 7 races tonight. A good chance to possibly try to make that happen. Coming out of turn 3, as you mentioned, Strix, 3 corners, 3 very distinct corners. It's a very unusual track. Obviously, we talk about, turns 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4. Pocono's been very clear. It's part of their marketing strategy, actually. What turn 4? It's just 3 distinct corners. But as you mentioned, 1 and 2, you can kind of take the similarities out of that, but turn 3 is completely different, and we're seeing that already just through qualifying, how different that has been. Bohr in qualifying at the moment. Same with Alfred Denny, and Angel Santiago just began rolling here for qualifying. See if we can get our little ticker rolling here. We've got a few cars that have started running, that have lap times on the board. See if Bohr's pops up here.
Hopefully our ticker information working
Bohr
correctly
just went
today.
top of the board, 54.37. We'll see if it works. At least some of the information's good. At least the telemetry's good. We didn't have any last Friday, so
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I noticed that. I honestly don't envy you. Having no overlay information whatsoever can be rather frustrating.
Denny sets himself 3rd fastest. We're looking at Santiago right now. Not a great run for Santiago. He's going to come down pit lane. He's not going to settle up time. I believe that means that Ryan Moutre in the Strix, one of your favorite cars, the Hot Wheels number 44, getting ready to roll out here.
Yeah. Gotta love Hot Wheels. It's great.
Good old Kyle Petty throwback we saw at Daytona a couple weeks ago. Saw it last week at the Open as well. Looks like Blake Henderson will roll as well.
So heading through turn 3 now, the 44 of Ryan Moutre in the Mattel Hot Wheels car. Gonna be heading down with that Ford Mustang all the way down to the start-finish line to, I believe, start the lap now.
Correct.
And Bryce Bohr, as you mentioned, is currently top of the leaderboard with a 54.3. Quite a few racers to go, though. Lots of drivers like Shad Swatsworth, Joshua Gaiman, Caitlin Height yet to qualify, but Shad Swatsworth in particular is going to be of note. Last season, Shad Swatsworth set the track record at a 54.494 that has already been beaten by 2 drivers, Eli Sasek and Bryce Bohr. And according to testing figures, Dustin Hall may have something in store for us today as well. So that position on the top of the board, not necessarily safe.
Ryan Moutre just set a 5th fastest lap time. Henderson just went top of the board.
The 54.321 was Blake Henderson. And now we're going to be taking a look at Lily Pelletier-Sharp. Hunter Peach, I believe, is finishing his lap as Lily Pelletier-Sharp gets out for hers. And Selena Thompson also leaving pit lane to start her lap. I think Lily Pelletier-Sharp might be having issues, though?
Lily set her qualifying time. She is
Oh, she
fifth
did.
fastest.
Yep, I'm behind a little bit. Let me fix that.
Yeah, Henderson on top of the board. I had Boris, Sasek, Peach, and Pelletier-Sharp.
Right.
With Alfred Denny 6. We've had 10 cars set qualifying time so far. Thompson and Meredith, the next two to run.
Yeah, so Selena Thompson in the 63 car, the Toyota Camry.
This one's going to be a little bit bittersweet for Selena Thompson. And we'll cover this a little bit as we get closer to the race. But you'll notice if we get certain shots here, there's a special message on the left rear of that car. Recently, she lost her father, who passed away earlier this year. So, a touching little tribute on the back of the number 63 car tonight for Selena. Obviously, Selena, our thoughts are with you and your family at this time. But obviously racing with a little bit more in heart tonight. Looking to get into the time sheets and do something. We see her be impressive in the Twiggy Racing Series on Friday evenings. It's been a bit of a rocky start getting into the HTL Cup Series, but finding a really good home in the NFG Motorsports group. We'll see what she can pull off here tonight as she runs the end of her first qualifying lap. Again, we only get one qualifying lap per driver here tonight, so it's very rapid fire. But we'll see what that 63 can do, and then we'll find out what Meredith can do. Teammates there as Thompson goes to 10th fastest ahead of Eichler. Meredith running a National Guard scheme. Where does he go? He's in the playoffs. He will go 5th fastest.
Fifth fastest, not a slouch, but currently 3/10 behind the pole sitter of Blake Henderson. Meanwhile, Gary Donaldson out on track as well in the 22. The Under Armour Ford Mustang.
Finished 3rd.
Meanwhile, Dean Clavitt being let out.
Clavitt finished 5th here. Clavitt set the 5th fastest time. That's who we were looking at on the screen there. Donaldson just went 8th fastest.
I'm trying so hard with this qualifying format. My brain hurts.
It's a lot to learn early on. It's a lot to learn. You'll probably pick up on it when the season ends, and you'll be like, "Well, now I gotta wait until August."
Yeah.
Zach Apperson getting the role here. Have to update his font because it looks like he's back into 41. So let's update his font here in a moment. We can do that.
Dustin Hall also being released now, and I know that because I saw him leave pit lane. And Zachary Amperson. As you mentioned, that 41 Ghost machine in the Ford Mustang. It's a very nice car, actually. Very bright, very vibrant, blue and yellow. Sour Patch Kids on the side of it. I love Sour Patch Kids. They're so tasty. We're coming out of turn 3. Heading down the front stretch, across the start-finish line. And Zach Apperson will now set his time. Matthew Boone, I believe, released as well. Chad Swansworth on track.
Yeah. Trying to get the number fixed for the 41 Apperson real quick. Have to dig and scour through our resources here. Just a regular day at the office. Found it. We're good.
All right, so coming out of turn 3, right down to the yellow line. And as I mentioned, we're going to be seeing a lot of cars trying to back up their corner entry to try and get the run off of the straightaway there. But 54.9 for Zach Apperson. Good enough for 13th for now. Probably wanted more from that lap. Meanwhile, Shad Swatsworth is going to come across the line with an 11th fastest qualifying time of 54.6. And Matthew Boone surges ahead to fourth place with a 54.4. And Dustin Hall, the number 3 car, as I mentioned, had something spicy for practice, was pretty quick in testing, gets a 54 flat and takes the top spot so far. 54 flat. That is rapid.
It 100% is. He's Dustin Hall, like, and Dustin was in a very much he's in a pressure cooker situation because he won't be at Talladega, which is the end of the round of 12. So he has to win either here or Darlington next week to make something happen. So obviously a big time deal for him. Realizing I haven't updated some stuff here real quick. Here we go.
So Josh Gaiman, Caitlin Height, Zach McBride out on track. Meanwhile, Dylan McDonald lining up to get ready. Caitlin Height is going to be coming across the start-finish line here. And going to be
starting a lap.
Starting the lap.
All 3 drivers on track at the moment. In the middle of their laps now. We'll see Gaiman, new look here. First time we've not seen him in a Ukraine-colored car. At least first time I've not seen him in a Ukraine-colored car in a year and a half. So
yeah, it has been a long time. A big change on the car, but not so much on the leaderboard. Top 6 times so far with a 54.488. Zach McBride, meanwhile, going across the start-finish line, going to be good enough for 15th.
Yeah.
And Caitlin Height is going to be finishing her lap here and gets into the wall.
And there went that lap.
That is a huge error. That's an invalid lap time now.
The fastest driver in practice will now start from the back of the field. That's a rough go.
That's the thing about this one-shot qualifying. You got to get your lap right. And unfortunately, Caitlin Height trying to go for broke, trying to top Dustin Hall, and unfortunately not capable of doing so. Just pushing the car too hard on the exit of turn 3. Not willing to get out of the gas. And that's how racers are. They just constantly are on the limit of the car. But it makes you wonder, like, maybe if Caitlin Height had just let off the gas just a little bit, just to keep it off the wall, maybe bank some kind of time, start in the mid-pack, be able to have to work less to try and get towards the front, but now going to have to deal with a lot of slower traffic to try and get back to the front again. Meanwhile, on track right now, Dalton Hayes, Dylan McDonald, and Matthew Smith going to be setting their times.
And these will be the last 3 to run qualifying lap times. Santiago did not complete his lap, and Caitlin Height obviously tagged the wall on hers. So these 3 will be the last ones to run qualifying, starting with Hayes. Then we'll see McDonald and Smith will cross the line last to start a lap. We'll follow Hayes, and then we'll pan through to Matt Smith. He'll be the last one to run here.
The number 50 Klondike car, the Ford Mustang of Dalton Hayes, now coming around on turn 2. Going to be on the outside, braking right around here, enter into the corner. Going to be trying to apex late, get to that yellow line. Not quite getting all the way down to the bottom of the racetrack, leaving quite a lot of time on the board, but maybe just preferring to set a banker, get somewhere in the mid-pack, and that's actually going to end up towards the back of the pack at 55.035. Dylan McDonald coming across as well. That's going to be the second fastest time, a 54.1. And Matthew Smith trying to see if he can topple Dylan McDonald or Dustin Hall and get to the front row. It won't be enough for the front row, but the second row, you got a 54.0 in pole position, a 54.1 in the other half of the front row, and then in the back row, it's 54.3. Very, very close top 5 here, especially with Bryce Bohr in 5th place, a 54.365 being the higher end of the 54.3 qualifiers. So very, very close times here. This is going to be some very close racing here, Carmen.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Obviously, ABN released an article late last night, early this morning. Like, where do we think that the driver is going to be in the playoffs? And a lot of the pundits that we had were like, yeah, we don't think Smith's going to have it. And they wrote off both McDonald and Smith. But there they are right now, top 4. That's a really good argument right now that they are not here just to be for early round eliminations. And this is a track that we talk about it so much with Pocono, that it is very much a skill track, because you have to be compromising something. You can't just set up the car for one corner and get through the entire race. You have to be able to adjust and compromise lap after lap after lap. And there's 80 laps in this race. So that's a huge ordeal. Being able to not only qualify well, but to be able to stay up there in this race to kick off the playoffs this early on for those drivers, really big statement.
A big statement indeed. But Dustin Hall, it was rumored through testing that Dustin Hall might have something to show for today, and that's definitely rung true. Dustin Hall, your pole qualifier for today, going to be sitting on the front row alongside Dylan McDonald in 2nd position. As we take a look at our weather conditions here so far, we got 79 degrees Fahrenheit is the temperature, the ambient temperature outside, while it's 107 degrees Fahrenheit on track. 53% humidity, and it's partly cloudy with a rather blistery wind of 13 miles an hour. Meanwhile, we're going to take a look at our current grid for the race today. On your front row is Dustin Hall for Team Conti in the number 3 car. And on the other side, Dylan McDonald. Just a very small margin between the two drivers in the Rage Motorsports machine, the number 38 car. Meanwhile, in the second row, you got Blake Henderson and Matt Smith. And as you can probably tell here, the cars in light blue are going to be in the playoffs. This is the first playoff race today. So everybody in blue is currently in, and they're going to need to do well here in order to continue through the playoffs. But Blake Henderson and Matt Smith on your second row. Matthew Boone and Bryce Bohr in the third row. Eli Sasek and Josh Gaiman in the fourth row. And Hunter Peach and Dean Clavitt in your fifth row. Qualifying 12th is Lily Pelletier Sharp in the 45 car. And qualifying 11th is Zachary Meredith in the NFG Motorsports 39 car. Alfred Denny and Gary Donaldson will be in your 7th row. Elias Flores and Shad Swatsworth in the 8th row. Ryan Moutre and Zach McBride following. And then you have Zachary Apperson and William Britton, the 41 in the 72 car. Dalton Hayes in the 50 and Selena Thompson in the 63. And then towards the back of the pack, Caitlin Height and Caleb Eichler. Caitlin Height unable to set a qualifying lap due to making contact with the wall. And I believe Angel Santiago should be in here somewhere. Yeah, right there at the back of the pack. There he is. So there is your grid as we get set for racing 200 miles at Pocono. The oblong triangle. This will be definitely an interesting race. And again, on your left side of your screen, you can see the light blue cars. Those cars are in the playoffs, and the dark blue cars are not. So all the drivers who are in the light blue are currently competing in the playoffs to try and win the season championship, much like you would expect from IRL NASCAR racing. As we are set to go racing very soon here. Pace car is off. We're on the start-finish straight, and we are going green. Throttle to the floor. Let's go racing at Pocono. Already 3 wide, pretty deep into the field. Lots of checking up happening, and we're seeing some accidents happening. I think that's Ryan Moutre in the wall towards the back of the pack, but we stay green. Everybody stays straight, but a lot of checking up into the first corner. Lots of people being taken off guard, and now we've got a separation between 2 packs. Perhaps a chance for the pack to catch up, though, as we head into the second corner. You can see just how tight it is. Braking essential here. Dustin Hall getting off to a really good jump, while everybody else tries to sort themselves out. We're still 2 wide in some parts of this pack, this lead pack here. And so far, Dustin Hall qualified on pole and is currently your leader. So far, Dustin Hall and Dylan McDonald able to make quite a lot of separation between them and the pack behind. Matthew Smith currently sitting in 3rd in the number 29 car. You can see just how much movement is coming from these cars coming out of that corner, and especially on turn 3 right around here, the car gets really loose on the exit. We saw that with Caitlin Height getting loose and then coming into the wall. But turn 1 and 2 also very critical. If you don't get these turns right, you're going to be losing time, losing speed on the straightaways, and you could get caught up by the other drivers.
Battle for 5th place going on right now. You got Henderson, Bohr, and Gaiman in your screen, with Eli Sasek not far behind this either. Watch from the spotter stand on the front straightaway. Taking on Matthew Boone. Matthew Boone had an issue turn 2. That's what you talked about. If you lose part of the corner, it's going to be a very long race, and that's what happened to Boone. Got a little bit checked up there in turn 2, and it allowed everyone to catch up.
Meanwhile, Eli Sasek getting a poor run out of turn 3. Lily Pelletier-Sharp going to be on the inside. The number 45 car. The dark blue and white on the inside of the very bright blue, the almost cyan and black. And once again, Eli Sasek not doing so hot through the corner and getting passed by Lily Pelletier-Sharp, but the 39 car, or the 99 car rather, getting a bit of a run, but gonna think better of it through turn 2. And that's how that position fans out. But Blake Henderson in the 25 car getting shuffled back a little bit and almost gets run into by Bryce Bohr, almost 3 wide through turn 3. A little bit of a wiggle from Joshua Gaiman in the 61 car. Blake Henderson in the 25 on the inside of the 61. And now on the inside of Lily Pelletier-Sharp. Henderson's latency issues not being solved from last week, flashing in and out. That's not ideal, not what you want to be seeing.
It won't be solved until the end of the season, because he's running on college Wi-Fi. Ooh. So it's a bit rough. So he's kind of just making do and hoping that he can survive until he gets to the final couple races of the season. But it's been a struggle for him, just trying to find that consistency without, being a threat. We saw at the All-Star race, he got told to essentially move to the back of the field.
Oh, something's going on with Matthew Boone. He's slow in front of multiple cars. And that's going to cause a huge checkup. Lily Pelletier-Sharp is going to punt him to the inside of the track. And that's going to cause the yellow flag to come out. I believe Joshua Gaiman went into the pit lane as well. Pit lane exit may be closed at this point, so it'll be interesting to see what happened. I'm not sure why Josh Gaiman went into the pits, though.
We're going to find out, I think.
Yeah, I think Matthew Boone was just oddly slow through turn 3, and it caught a lot of people off guard. Lily Pelletier-Sharp doing what she could, but ultimately slamming the door of Matthew Boone closed if it was open. It's certainly closed now. And shuffling him down to the inside of the apron.
It looks like Gaiman was trying to make pit lane to begin with, which is an interesting strategy. We know that pit stops were going to be a thing in stage 1, but an early pit stop there was what was the plan for the 61 machine. As for Matthew Boone, you know, we're going to come back and take a look at it here. We're going to see if we can hop on board that left rear. I think Boone gets loose here.
Oh yeah, might have gotten. Well, I don't know, because he's still very slow out of turn 2. So I would imagine that the problems happened right around there in turn 2, because he's slow, he's still slow. It's almost like he's not able to get full throttle in that car. I'm not sure what's going on with Matthew Boone. Maybe a bit of a technical fault with the pedals in that vehicle, but the Ford Mustang not doing so hot. The 83 Ford Mustang. As everybody goes into the pits. Well, almost everybody. So now, Josh Gaiman's decision to pit early, maybe a little bit usurped by the yellow flag, but still able to gain position. At least a little bit through the pit cycles. Meanwhile, Caitlin Height started 24th. Currently sitting in 4th. Very quick ascension through the ranks, especially through the pit stops.
We're going to take a look here. We're going to take a look. Someone brought up something interesting here. Did Boone tag the wall out of turn 2? And it looks like he might have. We're going to go on board with him here. He may have tagged the wall here out of 2. Oh, yeah, he did.
Oh, yep. Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, because he was slow off the back of 2 and just never caught up to speed. And I think there was possibly some damage on there, which is why Matthew Boone was so slow into 3 and caused that checkup.
And there's no fast repairs, so it's a long repair. And obviously, he's still sitting in pit lane. He's got some time, a slow pace lap here at Pocono, but yeah, Matthew Boone struggling a little bit.
Yeah, not what the 83 wanted. Wanted to stay up at the front to try and protect the playoff spot, but this is going to put a little bit of a kink in things. But Matthew Boone does still have some time to repair the car. And leaves pit lane now, so he's not going to be going a lap down. But if that damage hasn't been fixed yet, probably the wisest strategy to take here would be to just every pit stop fix a little bit of damage, Because here at Pocono, your corner grip, your mechanical grip is all important, all encompassing. If you've got any damage to the suspension, that's going to be causing a loss of grip through the corner. Not only is that going to wear your tires down a lot, but it's also going to reduce your average cornering speed. And if you're doing that, it's going to be negatively impacting your ability to surge to the front of the pack and be able to finish well in order to qualify for the next round of playoffs.
Matt Boone, he'll try to see what he can salvage here, but he's going to have a long way to climb. Right now, it's Zach Meredith, Hunter Peach, teammates at the front of the field. Caitlin Height in row 2 alongside William Britton. Selena Thompson, Angel Santiago up in the row 3. Again, everyone in the top 6 is not yet pit, but we know that they have a pit stop to make in this stage. So somebody interested to see how that pit stop cycles through here. Otherwise, they are going to be cutting it really, really short on fuel going into the stage break. Again, appreciate everyone hanging with us here on Monday evening. Hope you all are in better health than I am right now, but I'm Carmen Hardy alongside me, Stryxnine Pulsatrix. We're at Pocono Raceway, the first round in the round of 12 for the HTL Cup Series playoffs. 12 drivers begin their hunt for the championship. First restart of the night
comes off.
Here we go. Green flag back in the air, and away we go.
Caitlin Height on the inside of the 23 of Hunter Peach. Zachary Meredith got a really good run off the start, but Caitlin Height, an absolute freight train of a driver here and throughout the early part of this season, the regular season. And you can see just how much that gap can close down on the brakes through turn 2 and now heading into turn 3. Meanwhile, towards the rear of the battle for first place is a battle for third. Hunter Peach now fighting with William Britton, but Hunter Peach for now is going to protect that position. Meanwhile, the 90 card of Angel Santiago kind of taking a little peek, but thinking better of it for now. They're going 3 wide towards the back of the pack, though. That's the 950 and number 4 car going 3 wide. And we got a caution. There's a spinner on the inside. A couple cars going spinning to the apron.
And Britton. There are 2 cars that got spun around. It looks like Britton got turned by somebody, and around he went.
I was taking a look at the back of the pack, seeing what was going on over there, so I ended up missing what went on there, so I guess we'll have to see the replay, kind of figure out what ended up happening, what caused this incident here.
Yeah, here's the look on the replay here. It's Britton on the high side, Santiago to the inside, and just side drafting, just going a little bit wrong there, and Santiago paid the price for it too.
Yep. And it seemed like the draft train was kind of moving around a little bit, and both of them wanted to occupy the same real estate, but you can't have 2 cars in one place. Well, you could, but you might not get the best results, and that's what we saw there. But yeah, Angel Santiago kind of just coming into frame. And very unfortunate. We just went green flag racing, and we're under another caution flag here. Last season, we had 4 caution flags here, and also just 16 drivers occupying the field in HTL at the same track. Today, we've got 27 drivers out on track. So the likelihood for these cautions to come out, just a little bit greater.
Another thing about tonight, there's no fast repairs. There was fast repairs last season, none tonight. So every mistake like that, just an extra amount costlier. I think a lot of the playoff drivers kind of lucky strikes a little bit here. None of them were involved in that one. And this caution does a lot to help the likes of Caitlin Height and Zach Meredith as far as their fuel mileage, because they can now make the rest of the stage without making a pit stop.
As you mentioned, pit stops, a few cars going down. That's Eli Sasick, as well as Selena Thompson and Elias Flores electing to make pit stops. Along with Gary Donaldson, Blake Henderson, Matthew Boone, probably going down to repair some more of that damage, and William Britton also going down pit lane, and Angel Santiago as well. So everybody who was involved in that yellow flag going down to fix some damage, everybody else choosing to refuel, maybe get some tires.
Everyone having a chance to sort of get ready for the end of the stage, because it will be a little bit of a sprint to go to the end of stage 1. Stage 1 ends on lap 20. So everyone's got a chance to try to go and fight for it here. It's going to be a very interesting fight to see, because obviously Dustin Hall, Pulsatrix tonight at here in Pocono, has to come from the 5th row of the grid on this restart, starting in this race in 9th, whereas Caitlin Height, the second fastest person according to the practice times, starts in the front row. Really good viewing for that number 11 machine. Really trying to play spoiler for that number 3, who needs to win either tonight or next week at Darlington to get into the round of 8. So, pressure cooker situation there for Dustin Hall and Team Conti. Still very early stages here. And second caution of the night for an incident involving Angel Santiago, William Britton, and Selena Thompson. Getting ready to see the 1 to green indicator. And we'll see the field double up and get ready to go racing.
Stack them up side by side. We got 39 car of Zachary Meredith, the National Guard Toyota Camaro. I was also almost going to say Chevy Camaro. That's a Toyota Camry there, completely different manufacturer. In the front row with Caitlin Height. Meanwhile, behind them, Dean Clabbin in the number 2 Ford Mustang, and Hunter Peach in the number 23 Toyota Camry. And then you've got Dylan McDonald, the 38, and Dalton Hayes in the number 50 car. That is your front 3 rows for this restart.
"24 cars running in this race. Caleb Eichler suffering a technical fault, unable to take the start of this race. Santiago still in pit lane, so he'll go a lap down. May go more than 1 lap down."
Angel Santiago hustling out of the pit lane now, so Angel will be 1 lap down, but only 1 lap down. So now here come the mind games. You can see Zachary Meredith making little surges forward, little thumps on the throttle pedal, and Caitlin mirroring the same. But here we go. Pace car is going to turn down into pit lane, and we are going to go green right around now. Let's head into the stage number 1 finish. 20 laps for stage 1. We're 6 laps away.
Really good start there by Peach. Teammates there on the inside lane. Caitlin Height doing what she can to try to fend off Peach here, and will do so out of turn 1 in the number 11 tonight.
That was a tremendous run through that corner. Lots of grip in that car still. It was expected that cars would get fastest around lap 5 to 7 and then would start falling off, but it doesn't look like that's the case with Caitlin Height. Meanwhile, a bit of a pinch, a bit of a backup here with the cars behind Caitlin Height. You can see a bit of a pack forming. Drivers still trying to sort themselves out. 2 wide in some areas, 1 in others.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of cars right now that are on fresher tires as you see them fan out.
Yeah,
Bryce Bohr.
Yeah, Bryce Bohr, I think, made contact with the wall, as did Matthew Smith at 29. Kind of coming off the wall, just you saw them like surge off towards the inside of the track, but keeping the cars straight. You can see now a huge gap forming between the leaders and the rest of the pack. Caitlin Height and Zachary Meredith getting a great start. Meanwhile, the rest of the pack behind are still fighting each other for position. And that's causing them to drop down. There's not a whole lot of space to be able to cut the corners as much as you want to. And we've got a yellow flag, I think. That would be an incident caution.
Yeah, Gaiman and Bryce
Josh
Bohr.
Gaiman and Bryce Bohr are involved. So I'll have to take a look at the replay and see what happened there. I don't think Gaiman is going to be happy with this one. Bryce Bohr getting on the inside of that quarter panel. You couldn't really tell from that camera angle, but Bryce Bohr had kind of thumped the throttle pedal as we saw Caitlin Height and Zachary Meredith doing on the start. Thumped the throttle pedal to try to get to the inside of Joshua Gaiman, but ran out of grip, ran into Josh Gaiman, and then that was kind of all she wrote. Right around here, he's going to thump the throttle pedal and try and surge to the inside, but runs out of front grip. Probably expected Josh Gaiman to be moving towards the outside a little bit sooner, but a rather opportunistic move from Bryce Bohr in the number 1 car. So once again, we are under caution. Keeping in mind that last season, when we raced at Pocono, we had 4 cautions. 2 of them were stage cautions. So we had 2 incident cautions last year. And already we have surpassed that with a 3rd caution. Just 16 laps through.
If I believe correctly, we're going to have 2 laps to go in this stage. We're going to have a green light checkered in the stage.
Mm-hmm. So Bryce Bohr and Josh Gaiman going down the pits. Nobody else.
Angel Santiago got the free pass, so he's back on the lead lap here.
Also, according to the radio chatter here, Selena Thompson might be in a bit of a little spot of a trouble. Mentioning no disk space to even open Discord. So if iRacing is running on the same hard drive or solid state drive that Selena Thompson is running on, running Discord on, this could potentially cause some issues. Could cause some performance issues that may end up with Selena Thompson having some, making some mistakes, but that's if, that's if the Discord app is running on the same drive as iRacing. And that's one of those weird things about sim racing, really, that separates it from real motorsports. You still get technical faults and the risk of technical faults like that, but, in the case of sim racing, it's just your rig just, not up to spec, not up to par, not in its best condition. Meanwhile, in IRL motorsports, maybe your spark plug isn't the best, or maybe you've got, maybe you drop a valve in the race. Completely different forms of reliability affecting the race, potentially.
We're going to have
Meanwhile,
2 laps to go in this stage. It's going to be interesting.
Yep. 2 laps to go in the stage, and we're going 2 wide. Getting ready for the start. Zachary Meredith, once again, going to be leading the charge with Caitlin Height, the 11 car, on the top end. Dean Clavitt on the top end of the 2nd row, and Hunter Peach on the bottom end, the 23 car. And then the number 4 of Shad Swatsworth and the number 29 of Matthew Smith. Those are your top 3 rows, your top 6 cars. Bryce Bohr and Josh Gaiman also joining the back of the field here. So 24 cars, 2 laps to the end of the stage. We're going green, white, checkered in stage 1. It'll be interesting to see who decides to throw down and who decides they're just happy with where they got now and keep the car safe for the stage 2 or stage 3. Here they go. Three wide, a couple rows back. You can see him fanning out there, finally getting that figured out. Too wide, a very scary situation. Going through turn 2, everybody makes it through. White flag, this time by in stage 1 racing. Zachary Meredith currently holding on to first place, but being put under pressure. Interesting.
Caution came out. There was a wreck coming to the line. Henderson and Denny.
Yeah, see, I knew that the caution was going to be coming out at the end of lap 20, but yeah, if a wreck happens, then that'll change things a little bit.
And here's what happened. Denny clobbered Dustin Hall, too. See if we can get it from the spotter stand here, because that's an interesting one. Yeah, because that's Alfred Denny. I think straddles the curbing here in 3. Oh, bumps Dustin Hall. Dustin Hall gets loose. Denny checks up. More contact there.
I think Hall checked up just a little bit and it caught Alfred Denny off guard. And, yeah, having that much of a slow up in the corner, very difficult to try and manage, but once again, that's a situation where 2 cars trying to occupy the same spot. You can't do that. And now we have matched the number of cautions that we had last season here at Pocono with 60, 60 laps remaining in the race. I had to double check my math for a second. We might be in for a long night, people. But I'm here for it.
So that caution will end the stage without needing any further clarification on that one. But it's going to be interesting because now it leaves Chad Swatsworth in the front of the field, William Britton, and Matthew Boone, the 3 that did not pit during this caution.
Chad Swatsworth in that lead position. Last season was able to put down a record lap time, and that was demolished by some of the drivers here this season at Pocono. So it'll be interesting to see what Chad Swatsworth is capable of in the lead of the pack. So here we go. Lights off in the pace car. They're going to be filing up double file here. Your front row is the number 4 car. Ford Mustang driven by Shad Swatsworth. And William Britton in the number 72 green Ford Mustang. Meanwhile, Matthew Boone in the 83 Ford Mustang on the inside of row 2, and Joshua Gaiman on the outside of row 2 in the 61 Ford Mustang. Ford Mustangs occupying the top 4. Meanwhile, Caitlin Hyde in the 11 car on the inside of row 3, and the number 39 of Zachary Meredith in the outside of row 3. That's your top 6. Joshua Gaiman having a fantastic recovery after having an incident earlier today with Bryce Bohr. They'll repair that car and now sits in the second row. Matthew Boone also having an incident earlier, also finding himself in the second row. Zachary Meredith and Caitlin Hyde both led the pack before the stage caution came out, or rather the incident caution that happened to be the end of the stage. And now they're in row 3. So now we're headed out of turn 3 at Pocono, the oblong triangle, and we're going to watch that pace car, drop into the pit lane, and we are gonna go racing here. Hit the throttle, the 4 of Shad Swatsworth spits out into the lead, and we are racing once again. Welcome to stage 2. Going 3 wide towards the back of the pack. They're very tight.
Lena Thompson tied the wall there a little bit. Looks like got some people to scramble.
Looks like Swatsworth and Boone getting off a huge jump, and we've been seeing all race long. 2 cars getting a huge jump on the rest of the pack while the others try and fight for position. But it looks like now with everything sorted through turn 1, that gap slowly closing in. Coming in through turn 3, you can see some drivers trying to jockey for position. Towards the back end, that light blue car of Eli Sasek, the 99, trying to get onto the inside of Bryce Bohr, the number 1 car. Meanwhile, towards the top of the field on your screen, Matthew Boone, this is the fight for the lead. Shad Swatsworth just ahead, and William Britton just behind. Probably won't see a whole lot of action happening right at this moment, just at the beginning of the stage, but the real action starts around the 5th lap that they've been running green. That's when the tires really start coming to life. And that's where the difference is going to be happening. Everybody who pit under the caution is going to be starting to surge forward right about now, gain time on the drivers who stayed out. You can see Caitlin Hyde going for the inside of William Britton. William trying to thump the pedal in the middle of the corner to try and just surge forward just a little bit, but that's going to lose some time on the exit. Caitlin Height, in the meantime, not quite getting the run out of the corner, and now Dustin Hall on the outside of Caitlin Height. Heading into turn number 2. Dustin Hall just pinching very low on the quarter panel of the 11 car. Now the 11 losing a position here to Dustin Hall. Not quite yet, though. Not quite clear. Caitlin Height still able to get a front fender on the rear quarter of the number 3 car, and now Dustin Hall is going to complete the pass. And ideally, you don't want to necessarily be making passes on the corner. That's going to be slowing you up to the cars in front. You can see that gap already formed between third place and the lead drivers. The 2 drivers up in the lead now. You want to make the pass on the straightaway. You want to set up the corner so you can maximize your corner exit speed, your launch speed out of the corner.
Something I've noticed a little bit here, watching Dustin Hall, he let it all hang out a lot, trying to get clear of Caitlin Height. Now he's gotten clear. We'll see if he can set sail and go after the leading pair. But he was not afraid to get it really close to the wall there at a turn 2 a couple laps ago. A lot of pace in number 3. A lot of pace in a lot of these cars here. William Britton doing a really good job as well in the 72.
Yeah, tried to take a peek on Caitlin Height's inside, but that door quickly closed by the 11. Very dangerous move, and now Dylan McDonald going to be trying to make a move on the 72 car of William Britton. On the inside, the red and white. Getting very close through turn 2. And now Caitlin Height going to be making a pass on Dustin Hall. And keep in mind, as they try and make these passes happen, as they try and fight for position, they're losing time to the leaders again. But you also have to keep in mind, the leaders haven't pit. Those leaders on older tires. You have to wonder if some of the prioritizing from the drivers in all battling for third, they may realize that the lead pack are going to start slowing down sometime soon. They're going to have to pit sometime soon. So they're just fighting amongst themselves for what could technically be considered the lead as soon as the cars ahead take their pit stops. But Caitlin Height currently in third. And this is around the 5th lap of the stage from green flag. So this is where the tires start really coming alive. Everybody who made their pit stop during the stage caution is going to have a lot of grip at this point. And by now, the car's ahead. Cars like the 83 of Matthew Boone and Chad Spotsworth, who chose not to pit, probably going to start falling off right about now. Currently, your battle for the lead. Matthew Boone and Chad Spotsworth, the number 4 versus the number 83. Both in the Ford Mustang. Chad Spotsworth currently leading. But Matthew Boone's been on the rear tail for quite a while as Dustin Hall comes down the pit stops. Making it I believe, an early pit here. Caitlin Height, in the meantime, is slowly catching.
Caitlin Height was fastest that last lap by a wide margin.
Now, fastest that lap, a 54.01. Pretty well matching Dustin Hall's qualifying time, I believe. take a quick check here. And actually better than Dustin Hall's lap time for qualifying. Dustin Hall had a 54.043. Meanwhile, Caitlin Height in the race, a 54.008. About as flat can get. And now caught up to the lead pack. And you can see from this lead pack towards the battle for 4th place just behind, just how much of a gap there is. There is a significant gap, about 3 or 4 seconds now at this point, between Caitlin Height and Dylan McDonald. And quite a lot of that coming from the fighting. It's on the lead. I think that Shad Swatsworth now going down into the pit lane, as well as Caitlin Height. Matthew Boone is staying out and is going to take the lead of this race. So Shad Swatsworth blinks first. Matthew Boone is going to have to respond with another pit right around now, at least this lap or the next lap. But as soon as he comes out, this is the big question here. When he comes out, chances are he's going to be all alone. No draft partners to help out, so it's going to be really interesting to see how that affects the strategy, but so far, Matthew Boone leading stage 2 and is now going to make the pit stop. Dylan McDonald and Dean Clavitt also make a pit stop, so now William Britton going to be getting the lead for stage 2, with Matthew Smith and Dalton Hayes in 2nd and 3rd.
Stage 1 was a messy first stage, but stage 2 has been everything but. It's been very clean. You see the racing going on for 2nd place behind. You have obviously Smith, Hayes. You have Bryce Bohr and Blake Henderson there as well. It'll be interesting to see how this all pays out, because a lot of the people that pit, or that have just pit, they did not pit under that stage break. So they had to come in by necessity. Caitlin Height's an interesting one because she could have stayed out a little bit longer, but it allows these drivers here to race out a little bit. We talked about in the beginning of the race that the tire fall-off's not that as big as people were expecting it to be. I think these drivers know that, and they're capitalizing on that, knowing that the undercut's not going to be as effective here as it would have been at a Kentucky or a Charlotte, one of the traditional intermediate tracks. It's a really big game of chess right now, and drivers are figuring out a lot now. So when we get into stage 3, which is the longest stage of this race, everyone will know what the strategy gameplay is going to end up being for that stage.
Absolutely correct. Meanwhile, your battle for 3rd still been going on. A war waged between Dalton Hayes, Blake Henderson, and Bryce Bohr.
William Britton comes in. This is now the battle for the race lead.
So Blake Henderson and Dalton Hayes currently sending it for the lead. Blake Henderson, as we mentioned earlier, having those latency issues, that college Wi-Fi not paying many dividends here, but Blake Henderson just needs a solid finish today to be able to make it through to the next couple rounds of playoffs, until such a time where Blake Henderson is actually able to move somewhere where where he can have some more consistent internet. Matthew Smith, meanwhile, the 29 car currently leading this race through pit stops.
What a turn on this would be for him. Obviously, he won Vegas last season, but it took him until Daytona 2 weeks ago to win this season. What a turnaround it would be for him if he went around and just decided to win 2 in a row and just immediately punch his ticket to the round of 8. That'd be a huge moment for him and for that Tribe Motorsports team.
Be a huge storybook moment, for sure.
A lot of cars spread out here now.
Everyone is spread out as we run through green flag pit stop racing. We are on lap 37 of 80 here, 200 miles of Pocono. My name is Stryxnine, Pulsatrix, and alongside me, Carmen Hardy. And you're watching ABN, Aero Broadcasting Network. We're racing HTL, the first playoff race of the postseason. On the left side of your screen, you can see the car numbers in blue and white. The light blue and white are drivers who are currently competing for a playoff spot, and the cars in dark blue, the numbers in dark blue and white, would be the drivers who are not in playoff contention.
Looking at the times at the moment, Matthew Boone down in 13th at the moment, just at the fastest second half of the lap. There's two sectors here that are separated by the entry of turn 2, the tunnel turn, down the Long Pond straightaway that we're kind of approaching right now. Matthew Boone was the fastest in the second half of the lap, that last lap. Obviously getting up to speed there in number 83. But a lot of pace in the number 83 right now as he follows along. He follows behind. That's William Britton. And I believe William Britton's alongside Hunter Peach at the moment. That is just outside the top 10. Front of the field, it's Matt Boone. It's Matt Smith and Blake Henderson. Henderson doing a really good job right now, holding on to that second spot. Dalton Hayes in third. And Zach Apperson. Angel Santiago in. He's done a good job recovering this race so far, but he'll pit from the 6th spot. As pit stops become name of the game here in these last 5 laps of Stage 2. Stage 2 ends on lap 45. Once we get to the end of lap 45. Matt Smith will have to make a pit stop. Same with Henderson, Hayes, Apperson, Donaldson. Top 5 on your screen will all need to come down pit lane, and it will, without intervention from a safety car, it will hand the race lead over to Caitlin Height.
And the 29 car announcing over the radio, in this time, boxing this lap, and you see turn down into pit lane. Blake Henderson is going to be following. But the 50 car of Dalton Hayes stays out. The 41 of Zachary Apperson also pitting. Gary Donaldson in the 22 pitting. And the 63 of Selena Thompson pitting. Caitlin Height in the meantime, heading out of turn 3.
The only stops you'd have to imagine would be the name of the game for these last 5 laps. If tire wear isn't a huge ordeal, it wouldn't really matter at this stage of the game. Height just clears everybody here. Dean Clavitt had said much to him. He's running the Coast Guard paint scheme tonight. He's sitting in the 3rd position now, and will inherit 2nd place when the driver in our screen, Dalton Hayes, comes down pit lane in these next couple laps. He may be coming down this time. Slows down a little bit, and then he is.
And just coming out of turn 2 now is Caitlin Height. This one may be close. Dalton Hayes now finally getting into the pit box just now. No mistakes on the entry, but Caitlin Height coming down the start-finish line, and just as Dalton Hayes gets out of the pit box, Caitlin Height surges past at full speed ahead. So your current leader now towards the end of this stage, Caitlin Height picking the strategy perfectly with 3 laps to go in the racing, and we've got contact.
And William Britton, and they saved it. Somehow Josh Gaiman saved it. Holy cow.
Remarkable driving.
Britton was trying to side draft with Gaiman, trying to get a run into turn 1, and they made contact. And somehow Josh Gaiman tank slapped that, was over 45 degrees in the wrong direction, and recovered that car without losing more than 1 spot.
That,
Holy
my friends,
cow.
is what we call big angle in competitive drifting. Big bonus points for the big angle, although that's not going to be doing well for the tires. It has been said that tire wear is going to be significant, and as we have mentioned throughout this race, it turns out tire wear not as significant an issue as we thought. But getting that sideways is going to wear down the tires quite a lot, and that's going to be ruining some of the run throughout the late stage of this second stage that Josh Gaiman may have wanted. But Caitlin Height still currently in the lead with 2 laps to go in the stage. Meanwhile, Dean Clavitt and Dylan McDonald are currently fighting it out for second spot. Dean Clavitt in second in the number 2 car, and the 38 in third. It's about the closest battle on track right now.
You could also look back.
Far and clear.
Here's another battle going on here. This is a little bit further down. This is battle for 14th between Pelletier Sharp and Bohr. Pelletier Sharp just moving forward here. Very quiet race for the 45 tonight.
And you can see the 45 getting a little bit of a wiggle through the middle of the corner, and you can see how much that ruined the run that Lily Pelletier Sharp had in that car. These cars are pretty loose through turn 3. Generally being pretty loose. The inside 45, the outside the number 1. Coming through turn 2. A little bit of a run favoring the number 1 car. And now it's turn 3. This is where we see a lot of moves happening, at least in practicing, or rather that's turn 2, my bad. I can't count. On the inside.
Still side by side. This has been a really good battle.
This has been, yes. Absolutely. Good racing all throughout stage number 2. Green flag from green. Well, it's been all green flag racing.
Green flag from the restart to now.
Yeah.
There's your.
Nearly had another caution, but Josh Gaiman able to save the car after sliding it through, having a little bit of contact. Pit lane entrances are now closed. So now is the time to try and get your position if you want it, really. Dean Clavitt currently sitting in third. Dylan McDonald in second, but Caitlin Height is going to come across the start-finish line to end the second stage and take the green-white checkered. Where's the yellow flag?
Wait for the top 10 to cross our finish line.
Ah, there it is. You can tell just how much of a gap Caitlin Height has, because I was just waiting for the yellow flag to come out, and it was just like,
Yeah.
A lot of pace in that 11 car, not just through on-track speed, but through pit strategy. Working out in the 11 favor today.
Yeah, big-time strategy call there. This is going to be a very interesting restart here, because obviously you look at, Caitlin Height, Dylan McDonald, Dean Clavitt, really fast cars tonight. Zach Meredith's up there. Dustin Hall's up there. Matthew Boone's up there. Josh Gaiman had the save of a century there a few laps ago. We'll see what he does. He'll probably come back down and just get some fresh tires just to put himself back on level footing here. But that was a huge ordeal.
I'd really like to see that, because I saw the tail end of it. William Britton actually apologizing to Josh Gaiman and also saying, brilliant save, dude. And I gotta agree. I did at least see the tail end of it, but I'd really like to see what culminated, what cultivated that situation. So here you see the green car, William Britton, on the inside. On the outside, the black car of Josh Gaiman. Oh, just comes up to enter the corner a little too aggressively, gets into the side, and you can see how much angle that Mustang had and keeps it straight on the entry to that corner. That is ridiculous car control. Jeez. You know, if there was an inner zone there, I'd give him 90 points. Easy. If there was an inner zone there, an inner clip, beautiful.
Yeah, wild stuff there. That was the most notable occurrence that happened in Stage 2. Again, Stage 2 went completely green, and it sets us up for what should be a very thrilling Stage 3 here, as most of the field will come in.
The only person who wasn't a taker is a 29 car, Matthew Smith, but as we saw, pit later in the stage. Selena Thompson also going to be avoiding the pits for now, but currently running 2 laps down.
Selena actually got the lucky dog here.
It's only going to be 1 lap down at this point.
Yeah.
But Matthew Smith, the only car not to pit here this time around.
He pit on lap 40, so he can afford it.
And now everybody running off from pit lane. Caitlin Height winning the race off of pit lane. Going to be sitting in the other side of row 1. And Bryce Dylan McDonald going to be sitting in row 2 alongside Dean Clavitt. Meanwhile, the 83 of Matthew Boone and the 99 of Eli Sasek. That'll be your 3 rows. Heading into the final stage of this race at Pocono. So stage 1, rather eventful. We had quite a few cautions. This is currently our 5th caution. We have now broken the number of cautions that we had last season. Last season we had 4 cautions, 2 of them being stage cautions, and this time we are currently running through 5. Stage 1, chaotic. Stage 2, really clean, really fun to watch. Stage 3, will it be more of the same from the previous stage, or will we see more of Stage 1's chaos rear its ugly head here in Stage 3? Going double file now. 1 final lap until we go green. The 29 going to be on the outside. The number 11 going to be on the inside. Got a good mixture of cars here as well. The 29 Chevrolet, the 11 Toyota Camry, and the number 2 and number 38 in the second row Ford Mustangs. Quite a ridiculous and yet expected turn of events for Caitlin Height, though. Tried to qualify on the top end of the leaderboard. Certainly had the sector times for it, but collided with the wall out of turn 3 to invalidate the lap time. Started at the back of the pack and has been running at the front since stage 1. Fantastic driving from Caitlin Height, which we always expect, but as it gets towards the later of the stages of the race, when it starts getting a little bit more hectic, we've seen Caitlin Height get bitten more than a few times by just some sheer bad luck. Will it happen this time? Or is Caitlin Height going to grab another win to guarantee a spot into the Grade 8? We'll have to see right now. The start of Stage 3 is happening now. The pace car is down into the pit lane. Matthew Smith gets a run out of the corner, or out on the restart. And we're going green flag racing in stage 3 at Pocono. Welcome to the EPI 200.
Really good restart there by Matt Smith. A little bit older tires, but he's in that sweet spot there. 24 cars, all 24 cars still rolling. But see that battle there, battle for third place between Clavin and McDonald, with Eli Sasek trying to play spoiler. Wild further on in the back of the field. Ooh, side by side. A little bit of hip check there between Bohr and Henderson in the turn 1.
Bryce Bohr, though, very cleanly handled and is now going to get by Blake Henderson after making contact. And actually has a significant run on the cars ahead, but is going to hit the brakes just a little bit heading into turn number 2.
Oh, tags the wall
Henderson
there. Trying to make it 3 wide on the outside of Dalton Hayes. And still gets by.
That is a ridiculous amount of pace that Bryce Bohr has. Able to clobber the wall and still make a run happen.
Yeah.
And the thing is, too, Bryce Bohr has been taking a very late apex into turn 2. And some of the other drivers have been taking a more traditional expected line, kind of outside, inside, outside with the middle of the corner. And I think that caused a little bit of a checkup, a little bit of a mismatch of lines between Bryce Bohr and Dalton Hayes. So a little discussion on the radio actually occurring, talking about that, but Bryce Bohr is still like, oh, we got a car around. That's Blake Henderson into the wall, turned around by Zach McBride, and we've got a yellow flag. 52 laps into the race. Blake Henderson not happy over the radio, very upset.
And rightfully so. We talked about this in stage 1. No fast repairs. And oh
boy, Blake Henderson chasing Zach McBride down. And keep in mind as well, Blake Henderson really needs a win here at this race. Has been dealing with intermittent latency issues and was hoping to mind his business and keep things straight, keep himself in the playoff competition.
Oh, and that just looks ugly.
Yeah, and there you can see Zach McBride just getting into the back end, and you can see the 41 spinning as well. That's Zach Apperson.
Teammates there, the 25 and the 41, Tombstone teammates. We'll take another look at it from a different perspective. Henderson, the 25, McBride in the 47. We'll see if we can get a chopper cam here. You're going to see McBride's going to send it to the inside, but just it doesn't have any chance of holding it down. And
so the 20,
just really rough going there.
And the 25 in the white and blue. The 47 of Zach McBride in the blue.
Yeah,
Zach McBride trying to send it in. Yeah, Zach McBride tried to send it in a little bit too hard, got into the corner of the 25, and then when the 25 got sent spinning, the 41 got caught up in it just a little bit too high and captured the rear bumper of Blake Henderson. So this will be our 6th caution, including stage cautions of the race. And here you can see the retaliation from Blake Henderson, just really not impressed with Zachary McBride, just very frustrated. You can tell the tension's running high for Henderson. He really wants to get into the playoffs and stay in there. He got here into the playoffs. It's just a matter of staying. It's going to be very tight for Henderson. Meanwhile, at the front of the pack, running through the pit stops in the 54th lap, Matthew Smith and Caitlin Height, as well as Dylan McDonald and Eli Sasick, elect to stay out, among many others.
Top 9 stayed out here. Nat Smith, pit on lap 40, from Height to Flores on 47.
And generally, what we've understood is that your run will usually last about 17, 18 laps here at Pocono. And that's certainly checking out for Caitlin Height and Matthew Smith so far, both of them. But Caitlin Height getting the stage win through stage 2 in dominant fashion through pit strategy calls. So certainly for Caitlin Height and Matthew Smith, they're a race to lose at this point. Of course, looking on the left side of your screen, the light blue numbers. Those drivers have all made it into the playoffs and are fighting for continued contention, playoff competition. And the dark blue numbers out of contention. So all those light blue numbers, they need to make up those spots. They need to make a win, or at least keep above the cut line. These next few laps are going to be vital to every single driver. Every position matters here. As they now go double file, the 29 and the 11 on your first row. That would be Matthew Smith and Caitlin Height, respectively. Eli Sasick and Dylan McDonald on your second row. And then Lily Pelletier-Sharp and Dustin Hall in the third row, your top 6. So lights off on the pace car. We're going to be going green flag racing once again after the 6th caution of today. Just turning through turn 3 now. One of the most important corners on this track. This is where we've seen quite a lot of passing done through turn 3. And speaking of turns, the pace car turning down into pit lane, and we are getting ready to go green flag racing here at Pocono. Three wide towards the middle of the pack here. It's looking pretty dicey. I think Dalton Hayes gets caught up in somebody else's bumper, but keeps it straight. Dean Clavitt getting a little bit sideways into the exit of turn 1, but keeps it straight. And we are going sideways. Multiple cars spread through the apron, but I think only one car going sideways and staying that way. I believe that was Eli Sasick. And once again, we are under caution for the 7th caution of this race with 25 to go. So taking a look here, yeah, it just seems like two cars coming together. We've seen this incident happen quite a lot, and you can see everybody just scattering and just barely managing to get through, but Dustin Hall turning Eli Sasick. Bryce Bohr, I think, was one of the drivers who barely avoided that wreck. almost immediately after the yellow flag flew, asking the crew chief for an extra pair, an extra pair of pants. Taking a look here on board the Salt Lake City native, and yeah, just kept turning up and up, turning into Eli Sasek. So I'm not really sure if from just one camera angle you could assign fault, but it looked like Hall was just trying to side draft and got too close. And Eli Sasek, the Grand Rapids native from Michigan, getting the worst of it. So once again, we are under caution, and of course, when this occurs, this could potentially offset some of the pit strategy here, because when you're not running at full tilt, full throttle, you are saving quite a lot of fuel. It'll be interesting to see how these strategies all play out now with these yellow flags interrupting that. As Dean Clavitt, Blake Henderson, and I believe Gary Donaldson now coming down into pit lane, as well as Eli Sasek, of course, and Dustin Hall. Hunter Peach also in the pits, getting service. Eli Sasek coming over the radio, surprised I had no damage. That surprise goes mutual from here, but seemingly getting away with one. And of course, in this race, as we've been mentioning all the way through the broadcast, in the playoffs, there are no fast repairs. If you get damage, you're stuck with it unless you fix it. So Eli Sasek getting away with one. So perhaps I may have jumped the gun a little bit, talking during the second stage break. Whether we were going to have some clean racing, some green flag racing, or if we were going to see more of the same of stage one with all the cautions. Had 2 cautions in the first stage, I believe, and
4.
none in 4? Well, no, because we had, not including the stage cautions, right? I think it would be 2 or 3, right?
It'd be 3. 3 without 3, not including the stage caution. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had 3 incident cautions, is what we would call those.
Actually, no, technically all 4 of them were because stage ended early.
Oh yeah, stage 4 ended early. Right, you're right. So we had 4 cautions in the first stage, including one to end it early.
And none in stage 2.
And then in the second stage. On the second stage, we went green flag from the start of the second stage to the end of it. Right? Yeah, I think we did.
Yep.
So this one currently looking about the same as stage 1. Currently looking like we're going to be seeing some incidents. Hopefully the drivers can clean it up a little bit, but you know what? Pocono is one of those tricky tracks. You only got one of these types of configurations, the weird triangle. Phoenix, nothing like this. Anything you learn at Phoenix does not apply here at Pocono. One of the most unique tracks on the service, and you have to race it very, very differently from anything else. And that is really showing in some of these drivers here today. It is possible, though. We had a really long, good green flag racing in stage 2. And stage 3 will resume with 21 to go. Coming out of the turn, they're on now turn 3. Matthew Smith going to be leading alongside Caitlin Height in row 1. On the restart, Matthew Smith gets a good jump. Everyone on the throttle hard, and we are racing once again in stage 3, 21 to go in the first playoff race of the season. Some of the drivers fanning out very low on the track. Some close encounters, but everybody stays straight. Heading now into turn 3, well, this is where we've seen a lot of drivers make some pretty good runs through here. Caitlin Height going very low on the track in the lead there, grabbing a little bit of the curbing. Using every inch of track to try and catch up to Matthew Smith.
One's running through here, mostly single file, and we'll try and get into a rhythm here. I'll say that the battle in front is between Swatsworth and Gaiman. There's a battle for the lead brewing. It's Height getting in front of Matt Smith, I should say. And Height will clear Smith as Smith almost gets into the inside wall. Really good save, and they're wrecking behind.
And they're crashing behind. Somebody into the pit wall. Somebody into the median hard. Eli Sasek just destroyed the car. Zachary McBride also around. The 44 car also apologizing over the radio. We'll have to see what happened exactly there, but a huge incident there coming out of nowhere. So I believe the situation actually arose from the 47 of Zachary McBride.
So we'll play this in slow motion. So McBride, he's going to drift into. Same thing happened with him and Anderson. Just drifts wide there and just runs right into William Britton.
I think that was a
situation.
Yeah, I think that was a situation where William Britton was coming down a little bit, but Zachary McBride coming up a lot, getting met into the middle of the corner with completely different lines, and that caused a huge checkup. You can see Eli Sasek shooting into the inside and is going to hit the median right there. Just huge impact into the sand barrels. I'm surprised not as many cars were involved as they were. You could see William Britton just barely skirting through as the 47 car comes to a stop. Very unfortunate situation, and that's one of those Wait a minute, why is Hunter Peach backwards in pit lane? Very interesting situation.
Wonder if he got turned exiting pit lane.
Oh,
he was coming to his box.
He was getting into his box and ran into Caitlin Height on the inside.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so we can see here, Caitlin Height is going to be coming out of her box on the left side of your screen. It's going to take a little bit to get to her box here, but right around there. There's Caitlin Height, the number 11. She's still alongside on the left side, and just tries to turn into the pit box. But that car is solid unless it's driving through all the pit boxes, and that is not what Caitlin Height was doing. So a tremendous error from Hunter Peach, and on top of that, receiving a passing under yellow penalty, passing Blake Henderson under yellow, entering pit lane. So the day has not gone well for Hunter.
And that's why he pulled up the pit. Oh, that's a rookie mistake right there. He pulled up the pit.
Yep.
You can't do that.
Yeah, 2 rookie mistakes on behalf of Hunter Peach. The first one passing Blake Henderson under caution, and you can see from the perspective of Caitlin Height. And Hunter Peach is just gonna door Caitlin Height. You can see the contact there. Barely anything happening to Caitlin, but yeah, the 23 car just getting turned around. Race seemingly falling apart for Hunter Peach, but Caitlin Height unaffected.
This is going to be a very interesting restart. It's Dustin Hall and Selena Thompson at the front of the field. Selena Thompson spent most of this race off the lead lap, but is now front of the field alongside the winningest driver in HTL history in Dustin Hall. That's going to be a very spicy restart here with coming to 16 to go.
Very spicy indeed. Great to see Selena Thompson make her way through the lead lap situation. Now finding herself not only in the lead lap, but in the lead. Selena Thompson coming over the radio. I'm in danger. Or perhaps recognizing the amount of talent surrounding her. Meanwhile, Caitlin Height and Angel Santiago on the inside and outside of row 2, and Dylan McDonald and Matthew Smith, your third row. Clouds come out and cover the sun. The pace car comes down pit lane now. And Selena Thompson in control of the restart. She goes late, but gets a shunt from Caitlin Height. And we're green at Pocono. 16 laps to go.
What a spoiler this would be if Selena Thompson holds on to this one.
Whoa. They're going 3 wide for the lead here.
Wow.
Dustin on the outside. Caitlin on the inside, and Selena in the middle. The 63, the 11, and the 3 going 3 wide into turn 2. Selena Thompson is going to back out of it, and Caitlin Height is going to go from 3rd to 1st out of turn 2. Not quite over yet, though. Dustin Hall on the outside, looking for that lead. Meanwhile, towards the middle of the pack, they're going 3, almost trying to go 4 wide. And that's Matthew Boone hard into the outside wall. They're spinning on the front stretch. And that's a caution flag. Very scary moment. And Selena Thompson gets spun sideways. They're still wrecking on the front stretch. Cars going sideways. We have the big one at Pocono.
Ooh, contact
Nice
there.
caution of the race.
Contact there by Thompson into Santiago. Wonder if there was contact between the two.
Both drivers able to just barely stay off the median, but over there, a separate incident occurring between Angel Santiago in the 90 car and then Selena Thompson in the 63. Selena getting into the lead lap, and not only that, but leading the restart into this race. Ooh.
Yeah, that was a little bit intentional there.
Yeah.
This would be interesting because the caution comes out late here. Caution comes out. And Santiago just tries pulling behind Thompson and just turns her around.
Yeah, not clear. Just gets in. Like, honestly, if I didn't know any better, I'd almost think that was intentional on Angel Santiago's part. This certainly was. But that contact between Selena Thompson there and Angel Santiago. But given that I know a little bit better, have been watching HTL this season, one would assume that Angel Santiago perhaps trying to side draft a little too close, and unfortunately, just getting way too close. You could see trying to get in close on the side draft.
So let's see what the caution, if the caution comes out here. No caution yet at this light. Caution comes out at some point here. Close. We've seen this 4 times already tonight where just side drafting's just gone wrong. Just way too overly aggressive there.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely don't think it was intentional with Santiago. This little piece coming here is going to be. Wait for it. Yep.
Boop. Yeah, Selena not very happy and has more than enough reason to be very unhappy. Angel Santiago just trying to side draft and getting too close to the comfort. Selena Thompson faithfully holding her line. Meanwhile, this is what happened towards the back of the pack. Dalton Hayes getting a little tight off the corner and getting into Lily Pelletier Sharp. Both cars barely avoiding the center median and avoiding the same fate as Eli Sasek. The window net is still up for those cars, but their shorts probably a little stained at this point. Meanwhile, we got some pit stops going on. We got the number 1 and number 2 car, as well as the 83, the 45, the 90, and the 50 taking their pit stops right now. Most of the front of the field electing to stay out so far. And the 2 drivers who have mostly been towards the front this entire race, Caitlin Height and Dustin Hall, they've also been towards the front throughout the entirety of this season. Both drivers having what it takes to win every race this season. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But these two are going to be finding it out now today at Pocono. Now they're going to be going double file here. The 11 car on the inside, that's Caitlin Height with Dustin Hall in the number 3 on the outside. That's row 1. Row 2 is Dylan McDonald on the inside, the 38 car. Meanwhile, in the number 4, Chad Slotsworth. And row 3, it's Josh Gaiman in the number 61 and Matthew Smith in the number 29. Your top 6 heading into the 9th restart of this race, with 11 to go when we go green.
Do we dare try to crank it up? Do we dare try?
I think we dare. I have good hopes. I am in good spirits today, my friend. I think we can crank it up. Thank you all very much for watching. We're going to crank it up for just a moment, but we'll let you enjoy the sounds of racing in just a moment.
6 laps to go, and this is the battle for the race lead. 3 cars in the mix, and this is what it looks like. Kalen Height leads over Dustin Hall and Josh Gaiman, the 3 juggernauts of the HTL Cup Series this season. Top 3, they have 8 wins out of 14 starts. Phenomenal records here across the board. Again, for those that are tuning in late here to the end of the EPI 200 here at Pocono Raceway, I'm Carmen Hardy. Alongside me, Stryxnine, Pulsatrix, to bring you the end of the race here tonight here at Pocono Raceway. Phenomenal racing so far to end this race after what has been a very chaotic beginning and a very chaotic stanza here in the third stage. But these 3 under a blanket, and don't count out Dylan McDonald in 4th place.
Dylan McDonald has been improving all throughout the season, just getting better and better, getting quite a few top 5 finishes as well. So certainly not out of the running, especially if the leaders keep running side by side
like
through the corners here. Pocono is very much a single line race. If you're going too wide, that's gonna be dropping you down the order pretty quickly, and they can make contact. Kalen Height hard into the wall.
Wow.
Dustin Hall hard into the wall.
Josh Gaiman now in the lead. Wow.
Kalen Height, huge damage, just hugging the wall there. That's got to be a disappointing finish to the race today for Kalen Height. Been running at the front all race and gets clipped by Dustin Hall. But here we are. It's the number 3 and the number 61. Dylan McDonald fell backwards.
Yeah, everyone had to try to avoid Kalen Height. No one was sure what was going to happen with her in the number 11. She did a really good job keeping it out of the way, but down the pit lane, her race is going to end 4 laps early here. And it's thrown everyone for a loop here, because now we got a battle for the lead and a battle for 3rd.
And a very large battle for 3rd at that. Dylan McDonald currently leading the pack of Blake Henderson, who gets sideways on the exit of turn 2.
Dustin Hall going for it. Oh, this is going to be intense. Coming to 3 laps to go. There'll be 7.5 miles left in this race.
Both drivers are mad talented. The 61 and the number 3 getting side by side, incredibly close. Watch how they go through turn 1. You're going to see Dustin Hall probably dive down early, and Josh Gaiman probably going to be taking the late apex and trying to get the speed on the exit to get the run onto the inside. Heading into turn number 2.
Dustin
that is exactly what happens.
Dustin kept it so planted there on the exit, though. Makes it way harder for Gaiman trying to get a run through turn 2, because he's going to have to check up here. He's going to lose a little bit of momentum before turn 3. He's going to have to try to outdrive Dustin Hall, and that's very hard to do for the Team Conti driver.
Whoa, the number 3 getting very dicey with the wall, but both cars do have damage. 61 involved with the wreck. Involved in a wreck earlier in this race, no fast repairs, and number 3 putting Kalen Height into the wall. So both drivers do have damage. Nobody has one advantage over the other.
Side by side again. This time it's Gaiman on the inside lane. 2 to go. 5 miles left in this race. And caution's out. And it's for Swatsworth.
I shouldn't have said nothing when we were cranked up and everything. I shouldn't have said nothing. I was saying, you know, I kind of gotta go to the bathroom, but I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna trust the process, and I'm gonna trust these drivers are gonna make it to checkers. And
nope.
And then I hear Shad Swatsworth get mad over the radio, and I'm thinking, oh no, what's happened here? And I think he got involved in a wreck that caused our 10th caution of the night, including our stage cautions here. Let's take a look.
We've seen this before, and it's cut and copy for the 5th time. Side drafting going wrong. Matt Smith. Just trying to be way too tight there in the quarter panel. And I mean, it kind of told its own story there.
I understand the advantage that side drafting has. You can kind of suck the person back towards you, kill all their momentum, and be able to surge past them. But you have to know how to side draft well, because if you get it wrong, this is what happens. You spin a car, and you spin them very, very easily. you have to be absolutely dialed in your proximity, and that is something that, coming from a drift background, I understand very well. You want to get as close to the car ahead of you as you can without hitting them, and we've been seeing it happen time and time and time again. People dooring each other, people getting into each other's quarter panel. It's just been happening so often in this race from just trying to side draft. The draft model is important, but you're not going to finish well if you keep wrecking, unfortunately. But that is the way that it is. Close racing's going to have some tough calls sometimes, and unfortunately, getting the worst of that one. And Caitlin Height earlier as well has been running really well throughout this entire race, running at the front and getting sideswiped by Dustin Hall and getting completely erased from this race. And now Dustin Hall is competing with the 61 of Joshua Gaiman for the win here in the first playoff race of this season of HTL competition. So now we're going to be going 2 by 2. Josh Gaiman on the inside, Dustin Hall on the outside. Josh Gaiman controlling the restart. Dylan McDonald and Blake Henderson are going to be in row 2. And I believe that would be Zachary Meredith and Matthew Smith also going to be in row 3. Meanwhile, you saw blazing past the field, Caitlin Height is getting the lucky dog here. So Caitlin Height isn't necessarily done quite yet. Going to be on the lead lap for the last few races, and we've for the last few laps, and we have seen before HTL go long in overtime as they try and figure things out. We've seen HTL go long in overtime, and we've seen a lot of big changes throughout the multiple green-white checker attempts. It is not it's not outside the realm of possibility that we could see Caitlin Height actually win this race, even though she's at the back of the pack. But let's take a look at what happened.
Alrighty. So this kind of a run through what happened here. We're going to kind of stop it here because you see them side by side. And this is right as McDonald got to them, too. Kind of play it in slow motion here. And Dustin Hall just almost gets clear of Katie, but doesn't get quite clear. And Katie ends up worse for wear there. And you see Dylan McDonald got a piece of it, too. And that kind of tells you the entire tale right there. Just drove it in deep, trying to get clear, and just couldn't get clear enough.
And it also speaks to the skill and the expertise from Caitlin Height, getting slammed into the wall and sticking it to the wall. A lot of the other drivers would try and pull it off the wall immediately and try and get straight back into racing, but that's where you often find quite a lot of incidents start happening, is if you pull it off the wall too aggressively, you could send yourself into another car. Could be another obstacle for other cars to avoid and cause a bigger accident than what we saw. So it speaks well to Caitlin Height's expertise as the oval driver to keep it just against that wall, keep it on the outside, and let people pass down on the inside. Very good, quick thinking.
It looked like Dustin Hall clipped the apron there. He clipped the yellow line, and it's bumpy. As soon as you get below the yellow line with any part of the car, it's very bumpy in that part of the track because that's where the tunnel goes underneath the track.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets very bumpy. You see where the patchwork is there as we go by it. They're under caution. It gets very bumpy and unsettled. And if you clip that, it throws the car straight to the outside. And I think Dustin Hall clipped that, and that's what sent him to the outside. And that's just no margin for error there. And when you end up having an error, it results in that. But Katie Height now 17th, but on the lead lap and hoping for a little bit of a miracle now.
A miracle indeed is what is going to be hoped for from Caitlin Height, but on the front of the field, 61 in the number 3 controlling this restart as the pace car drops into pit lane, and we're going green now. A bit of a rough start from the 61, number 3 getting a little bit of a run on the outside, but the 61 getting a little bit of a shot from Dylan McDonald, and we're heading into turn 1 now. Side by side. So far, so good in this green-white checkered attempt number 1. Further back in the field, I think Dean Clevitt tried to pinch down William Britton, and it caused a little bit of a checkup. And the 41 gets a little bit loose and comes into William Britton, gets the car sideways at the 72.
They all saved it. Wow.
They saved it, though. We're still going green. Blake Henderson on the outside of Dylan McDonald for 3rd place.
Here we go.
Meanwhile, looking for a run, Josh Gaiman on the inside of Dustin Hall. This is it, the white flag of this race. The next flag ends this race. Josh Gaiman on the inside in the number 61 car. Dustin Hall in the number 3 on the outside.
Whoa! Henderson trying to save it there. Got clipped by McDonald.
Saved it again. Close call.
This is the run to the finish. The white flag presented by Henderson Graphics. Side by side still.
And on top of that, Dylan McDonald right behind. There's a little bit of contact between Dustin Hall and the 61. They both save it. And now Dylan McDonald has a run.
They're wrecking
They're going
behind.
3 wide into turn 3.
Wrecking behind, but it doesn't matter. McDonald sends it in.
Tries to send it in. They're still going straight, though.
Oh, it's going to be a drag race to the line. Dylan McDonald's going to win at Pocono.
Wow.
Holy cow. And they wreck across the line afterwards. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Dylan McDonald. A lot of pundits on the ABN side of things wrote him off as an early round 1 exit. And he's the first one to punch his ticket into the round of 8.
Wow. That is the perfect explanation of right place, right time. Dustin Hall and Josh Gaiman both just beating doors, beating each other up, trying to get to the line. And Dylan McDonald just bided his time on the final lap, waited for the right moment to strike, and then Dustin and Joshua, Gaiman and Hall, both collide in turn 2. That gave Dylan McDonald the run he needed to get through, and manages to hold on from a last-minute fight from Dustin Hall, and gets the win here at Pocono, the Fort Wayne, Indiana native.
3rd career win.
3rd career win here at HTL, and a fantastic one to take home at that.
McDonald burns it down. Completely burns it down. The engine is gone. But we have to take a look at the final lap. That final lap was insane.
Yeah.
That was absolutely nuts.
It was just ludicrous. Lots of fun to watch. Certainly a caution-filled race for HTL, but beyond that, towards the final stages and in second stage, we saw just how good this racing can be as we take another look at that finish. Man, heading on to the final lap right around here. Again, you could see just how bad Blake Henderson wanted it as well.
Yeah.
Just sent it on Dylan McDonald, but Dylan kept it straight, kept his cool.
And the thing is, had Blake not sent it in that hard, McDonald wouldn't have been able to have that run. But because Henderson gave McDonald that space, McDonald could he could do what he wanted to do, and he could obviously get down here and set himself up to go 3 wide here.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you see the wrecking behind. Obviously, the white flag had come out, so there's nothing that's going to happen from that. And just a heavy block there. And a very clean drag race. And once again, Dylan McDonald wins in a drag race from Dustin Hall. These two finished 1-2 once again, with Gaming finishing
after
third.
The fact, and then after the fact, if you watch towards the back of that pack there as well, you saw them wrecking after the start finish. Unfortunately, I think Josh was really upset with Blake Henderson and turned down into him after the race, so that might be a bit of a talking to after the race, but the tricky triangle gives us a tricky bit of a finish as Dylan McDonald comes out on top.
Wild stuff. Third career win for Dylan McDonald here. We'll hear from him here in just a second. But that was a wild finish. You can tell it was going to be a wild finish no matter what, because it was shaping up that way before the green-white checkered, before the overtime attempt.
Yeah.
But that just kind of supercharged it there. We'll hear from Dylan McDonald here real quick. Obviously, a lot of good vibes here. We'll let him and Dean Clavitt talk here for a second. Dean Clavitt obviously finished 7th tonight. Not a bad result for that number 2. Playoff drivers 1st through 9th does not bode well for the likes of Matthew Boone, Caitlin Height, and Alfred Denny that now have a hole to dig themselves out of going into Darlington next week. But I don't want to interrupt anything that Dylan and Dean are debriefing about, because obviously those two helped each other out tonight. But really good effort by Dylan McDonald he sent it in 3 wide there, but he didn't do it in a crazy amount. And obviously I don't think Cayman is going to want to have his voice heard on this one. Otherwise, I don't think he's going to have a lot of things to say. But yeah, McDonald, he was very predictable. You knew he was going to the inside as soon as he set up that turn 2 exit. And he pulled it off very well. So obviously we'll see what people have to say here, and obviously there's going to be some debriefing going on here. But I'm going to kind of interject and kind of cut off Dean Clavitt. I know that they're talking, but Dylan McDonald, race winner, we have to hear what he has to say, because he's got to be over the moon right now. This has to be one of his craziest race wins. Dylan, this is Carmen from the ABM booth. You got a copy?
I do. How's it going?
Obviously, you're doing a lot better than me to begin with. Obviously, flying high right now. 3rd career win. And it's the most exciting race win I think you've had in a while. Obviously, we talked about Talladega, and it's like, wow, okay, he's got that plate race win. He can kind of just chill and relax. Pundits, fans around had kind of said, okay, cool, that's an early round 1 exit. And you've turned around, and instead of being an early round 1 exit, you're the first one to lock yourself into the round of 8. Not even have to worry about plate racing. You just raced your way through tonight here at Pocono. First of all, just how are you feeling after that crazy finish, being able to make your moves like that, called your shot and made it stick, but also the pressure being off your shoulder of now you have to worry about Darlington and Talladega. You've already got yourself put into the next round.
Yeah, hands check, still shaking. Yeah, that was, whew, I don't know. That was an absolute blast to drive. I'm not a fan of Pocono, and just stuck with it. It was working with Dustin all night, and I really wish I didn't put him 3 wide, but him and Gaming got into it on that final lap, and I just had the run. I had to go, and I stuck it all the way down to the inside. Blake gave me a shot going into 3, and it stuck. I had to really wheel that car all the way around, and I'm ready for the round of 8. I just got to keep it one race at a time, obviously, but pressure's off now, and now I can just kind of ease my way through the rest of this playoff bracket in the round of 12. So it's not done yet.
Obviously not done yet, but you talk about the pressure being off. You've won at Pocono, a track you don't really have a lot of affinity for. Then you look at you say one race at a time, but you can now spend time preparing for that round of 8 and getting ready for the round of 8. You got Chicagoland, Indy, and Bristol in that round of 8. We've seen what that 38 car can do. Obviously, it's been a pretty up and down season for you. You had to miss a few races. You switched teams. You went from Titletown to Highline, and it's paid off dividends going through that adversity. Having to kind of go through what you've gone through this season. How much has that kind of helped as far as just shaping how your season has gone and shaping how you've been able to hold that momentum? Because there's a lot of confidence that's needed. And we saw that tonight. We saw the confidence that we saw from you, obviously at Talladega, but also that we saw from you. Obviously, you look at Kentucky, you look at Phoenix, where you had that poise and that confidence. How is that? How is this season? How has the adversities kind of helped you shape that confidence into where you've got right now, to where now you can go and you say, no, I'm not an early elimination. I'm a contender. I'm a dark horse here, and you need to respect me as such. How does that help you shape that that sense of that I guess that just that confidence in that vibe?
Yeah, I mean, I think you really hit the nail on the head. I got off to a really bad start. I didn't make any friends out there, and I'm trying to gain everybody's respect out on the racetrack, give each other room. I was the bad apple at the beginning of the season, and I reflected back on that. Being parked a couple of races kind of puts you in a different perspective on that side, but I had the confidence for a lot of these races, and I just didn't have the finishes, and it was frustrating, very, very frustrating. But I just had to keep my head down, keep going and chugging along, and hopefully get there for that selective race win there. The only one at the plate track this year. But yeah, it's I just got to give more respect, and momentum's running really high right now, so I just want to keep my races clean. I don't want to go out here just wreck everybody. I want to get that villain off of me and be that person that at like how I used to be in season 2. So getting myself back to that is going to be a challenge. But with the guys over at Highline Racing, we're all just chill. We don't bicker and batter everywhere, and yeah, it just that team change actually helped me a lot. So glad Angel was able to pick me up.
Obviously, a phenomenal night tonight for the 38. Obviously, a lot of pace right out of the get-go there for the 38 and for Highline Racing as a whole. Obviously, a lot of celebrations going to be coming here tonight and into tomorrow morning. But before we let you go and let you celebrate and let you enjoy your 3rd career win, and obviously an immediate lock into the round of 8, if there's anyone you want to shout out and say thank you to, Dylan, the floor is yours. Congratulations on a well-fought race and a well-earned win here at Pocono tonight.
Yeah, I just want to give you a big shout out in the broadcast booth. Week in and week out, always go back and watch them. Got to give a big shout out to my dad and his wife supporting me in whatever I do over here on the iRacing side. Hopefully she's getting better with battling with leukemia as of right now. So prayers to her, and hopefully she has a speedy recovery as well. Got to give a big shout out to Dustin Hall and Blake Henderson for allowing me to come in here and run with these guys once again. TJR, Titletown Sim Racing, Rage. I'm still part of those guys, even though I'm not on their team this for HTL. CRN, Dubby, Rays, Travis Auto Services here in Fort Wayne, and a big shout out to my buddy Justin Manry with Upstate Body Shop and Towing.
Well, again, Dylan, 3rd race win, and it's always an exciting fashion for you in that 38 machine. Again, already locked to the round of 8. You can take Darlington and Talladega and just take it in stride. Congratulations on the race win tonight, 2nd of the season. Absolutely 100% enjoy it, and obviously we'll be seeing you next week in the Lady in Black.
All right, thank you.
That was Dylan McDonald, our race winner here tonight. We have 2 more interviews here. We're going to talk to Dustin Hall, second place finisher here for Team Conti, and then we'll talk to Josh Gaiman, the stepping stone driver that finished third place. He's got some choice words to say. We'll hear what he has to say here in just a moment, but we'll talk to Dustin Hall first. Crazy race for him. Dustin, this is Carmen from the ABN booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Carmen, I got you.
Alrighty, that was a wild finish. You got really, really close there at a track that a lot of people kind of shooed you in as being a favorite at. Crazy race there. I guess to kind of break it down first, give us your perspective of how that finish ended up falling about for you. And it's always you and that 38 that are close whenever it happens.
Yeah. It was definitely an entertaining finish. I hope all of you spectators enjoyed it. I getting put high like that with guys diving low, it really kind of put me against the 8 ball, really coming back to the line. The fact that Dylan got smacked as hard as he did is the only reason I was even unmentionable, and kind of walked into the second place.
You look at how this race went. Obviously, had the pace, but like you and Caitlin Height, obviously both of you had to run in tonight. But obviously both of you had to run through the field. Both of you got kind of caught out by things tonight. And for you, it is very much kind of a make or break, these first 2 races, because to my understanding, you're not going to be at Talladega. You got really close, but close doesn't really matter right now. It's about that race win, so you can afford to miss Talladega. Being so close, but also being so frustratingly far away, how much pressure does that throw on Darlington next week now, knowing that is kind of the last chance to kind of keep the championship run going? Obviously, you came close in season 1, but this is a way different competition now. How much pressure is there on next week, having come so close already?
Man, it's all encumbering right now. I have to go get it. There's no other way around it. The fortunate side, I would say, is that the third race in this round of 12 is Talladega, and anybody can have a bad race there. So that's kind of where I'm at. We'll go for broke next week in Darlington, and see where we lie, and bubble watch and see if we can advance. You mentioned the run-in with Caitlin. It was both of us bobbling a bit through the tunnel turn, and her car yawed out just as mine did too, and we got together. I don't think it's either of our fault on that one, but she did reach out to me and apologize for that. Took some ownership on it, and that just goes to show, the character of the competition we're racing with.
Obviously, top-notch racing. Obviously, it's front of the field. Obviously, you look at just how much competition was in this race tonight. Obviously, again, a really good run in the number 3. Obviously, a lot of pressure aside, obviously, phenomenal always seeing the number 3 up into the front, and you were up there a lot tonight, even driving through the field. Obviously, a lot of pressure, a lot of effort, and you're doing this while juggling also being crew chief for Michael Conti. Obviously, a crazy night, all in all being said, but if there's anyone you want to shout and say thank you to, Dustin, again, the floor is yours. Phenomenal race. It's always fun seeing the number 3, seeing Team Conti racing here, whether it's on Monday nights or soon to be on Wednesday nights on a part-time basis. Always fun seeing you wheel it and deal it, and it's been an incredible race. So, Dustin, the floor is yours. If you have anyone to shout out, congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Obviously, got to thank you guys, broadcasting, and HTL for putting this together. Big thanks to Team Conti and the guys for letting me skip away from those duties and do this. Thanks to the competition for the most part. It was a good, clean race all around me. Had a lot of great hard battles. So hats off to you guys for running racing, a race. It was kind of a nice change of pace. Thanks to the friends and family who tune in and watch. And as always, big shout out to Child Cancer Awareness and Coben. Racing anytime I race for him, and I miss him. So thanks again, and we'll see you guys next week.
Absolutely. Again, Dustin, congratulations on the second place finish tonight, and we'll be seeing you next week at Darlington.
Sounds good. Thank you.
That was Dustin Hall, our second place finisher here tonight. We're going to try to muster through and get through this last interview with Josh Gaiman. He's going to have some choice words. Hopefully he's calmed down a little bit. I know he's going to have a lot of choice words to say here, but we'll kind of break it down with him and hear what his thoughts are from him directly. A very rough afternoon, all things being said. Obviously, he's going to be a little bit sour knowing that he had essentially the race lead in his hand. Josh Gaiman, this is Carmen from the ABN booth. You got a copy?
Hi.
Okay, I've already corpsed. Okay, we're already off to an interesting start here. Obviously, everyone's going to be talking about the finish of that race. 3 wide situation there. And obviously, we saw the contact and how much the melee ensued there. But kind of before we get into that, obviously, the race itself, it was very interesting seeing everyone having to come through the field. And it seemed like just about everyone had to crawl through the field at some point. For you, going through the field, obviously we had the cautions in stage 1. Stage 2 was clean. What was it like being on track? What was it like finding the balance and getting that put together? And obviously, when that was how stage 3 fell, how did that unravel for you? And how do you think that kind of all came together there?
Yeah, that the green flag pit stop kind of threw me off, for sure, because I was like really far back. I was like 18th or something like that throughout the cycle, and I was just like, man, did I make the wrong call there? I don't know. And then eventually, the people that stayed out way longer pit, and then I was running like 7th or 8th or something like that, and I was like, oh, okay, no, that feels a lot better. But yeah, the strategy was definitely felt a little weird being on such a big track. And being, I guess, like probably 2 laps short on fuel for the stages and stuff, so it was definitely interesting.
Obviously, it's gonna be frustrating. Obviously, you go through that final lap, you're in the race lead, you're battling with Dustin Hall, and Dylan McDonald's gonna make it 3 wide, but then the contact comes and it kind of throws everyone up near the wall. You've made your opinions quite clear immediately after the race, but looking at it, having taken a second to kind of sit and think about it, obviously, how much were you prepared to kind of deal with on that final corner? Obviously, knowing that McDonald was going to send it, but obviously the real pressure came from further beyond that. How much were you prepared to deal with, and how much were you expecting to have to deal with? And obviously, did it play out obviously it didn't play out the way you wanted to, but did it play out the way you expected it to?
No, I'm not really surprised at all. Somebody who, installs Kyle Larson's Indianapolis brakes every week, it's not really that much of a shocker. But, me and Dustin were just talking, and, he was trying to figure out why I was so fast in 3. So, I could have had a good run, coming off the middle. If Dylan was going to send it, I'd try to cross over, or maybe just try to pinch him down and just get him slowed up a little bit, maybe get him a little wiggly or whatever if I had to. But yeah, definitely can't say I'm surprised by what happened at all. It's probably like the 6th time this season that something like that's happened at some point in the race. But yeah, it's beyond frustrating because it's just been all season. So yeah.
Obviously, you look at it, it's obviously you talk about the rough stretch that it's been. Obviously, tomorrow night may be reprieve, maybe a bit silly going to Formula Atlantic's doing it at Richmond tomorrow, but you look at how this year sort of unfolded. Obviously, you look at the race wins, but you also look at just how much chaos there's been this year. How do you reset and kind of get yourself ready for Darlington, where that it's going to be equally as physical, if not more physical, than the night?
I mean, if I'm there, hopefully I'll be able to just run clean and bring home a good finish. But if not, then I'll watch the same guy wreck somebody else instead of me this time. But yeah, if I'm there, I like the track, especially with this car. I don't know what it is. The next gen car is a lot of fun there. It's just a super technical track for being such a simple concept of a weird egg shaped oval. But yeah, just try to relax a bit and like you said, tomorrow Atlantic's at Richmond. That's just kind of let your hair down and have fun. So.
Well, obviously, you're going to need a little bit to unwind and relax a little bit. Obviously, after tonight's, I guess, more than frustrating finale for you. Before we let you go and kind of let you debrief, obviously, we saw you were talking with your team owner there, James Wright, in the interview room there. But if there's anyone you want to shout out and say thank you to, obviously, we get to hear from you on both. Well, really, almost every night of the week at this point. We hear from you Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We'll be hearing from you on Wednesday again. But if there's anyone you want to shout out and say thank you to, obviously a team effort here for Stepping Stone, even if the race didn't turn out the way you're hoping to. But the floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Stepping Stone's been making a lot of improvements, and our drivers have been moving forward and getting wins and all that. Other than me, that is. With Dalton grabbing 2 super speedway wins, almost back to back was pretty awesome to see, to be honest. Both times just kind of being right place, right time, which is pretty much how those races go nowadays. But yeah, everybody at Stepping Stone's been doing a great job. I'll shout out my partners, 213 Somewhere, Maconi Setup Shop, and W Energy. It's been going pretty good with them. Haven't had any complaints, so hopefully tonight doesn't start that. But yeah. I'll shout out Josh Sosi for putting up with most of us. That dude's a legend. But yeah, and ABN of course always does great broadcasts.
Again, Josh, obviously not the result you wanted to, and obviously not very often we get to see you so fired up after a race like that. But obviously, the third place, being upset about third place, is obviously a good place to start. Obviously, we get to see you. We get to see you Tuesday. We get to see you the Friday. We get to see you Saturday, Sunday. But obviously, enjoy the podium for what it's worth, and obviously, re-rack them and try and go after it again. But again. Well-earned fight. There was fun watching that number 61 new look tonight run through the field a couple times. Whatever happens. But obviously we'll see you tomorrow night from Atlantics. But enjoy the podium for what it's worth, and we'll see you at some point in the next 5 days.
Yep. Thank you.
That was Josh Gaiman, and more timid than I thought he was going to be there. But very grateful that he decided to spend some time and kind of explain his feelings there after the race here tonight. We'll walk through the full race grid, and bear with me because my voice may end up just completely falling apart.
I got you. I could take care of this here. I was hoping I could, but the resolution on my screen's kind of miserable. Let me run it on mine though. Your race winner, Dylan McDonald, in the number 38 car, followed by Dustin Hall in second place. In the number 3 and 61 of Josh Gaiman coming in third. Meanwhile, Blake Henderson and Shad Swatsworth, 4th and 5th, respectively. And then Matthew Smith, Dean Clavitt, Zachary Meredith, Dalton Hayes, and then Zachary McBride round out your top 10 finishers on this race. Elias Flores would finish 11th here at Pocono, and Zachary Apperson in 12th. Gary Donaldson in the 22 car finishing 13th, and Matthew Boone in the 83 finishing 14th. Caitlin Height racing towards the front of the field, but getting a bit of a incident between Dustin Hall and herself, putting her in 15th. William Britton Lily Pelletier Sharp, excuse me, Selena Thompson, and Alfred Denny, I believe, rounding out your, and then Bryce Bohr rounding out your top 20. And then Angel Santiago, Hunter Peach, Eli Sasick, Ryan Moutre, and Caleb Eichler rounding out your 25 drivers. Caleb Eichler having a technical fault, though, however, and unable to start this race this evening.
Obviously, one of the takeaways tonight, obviously, be to kind of close off things here. Very wild to see that, obviously, round of 12 drivers battling for this championship now. 9 of them finished in the top 9. That makes things very, very, very difficult. It doesn't make it difficult for Dylan McDonald. He's won. He's already in the round of 12. But for those that are now needing a win or hoping for a little bit of a miracle, it gets a lot tighter now going into Darlington next Monday. But for all of us here on ABN, obviously, we're moving just about every day of the week. Tomorrow night, it's Formula Atlantic at Richmond. I'll be driving. I'll be sharing my onboard perspective on ABN Esports on Twitch and on abnesports.com. Wednesday night, it's ABN Cup Series testing. Preseason testing gets underway before the season begins next week at Daytona. So that'll be a lot of fun. Obviously, we'll be covering that on our social medias, kind of showing off some different paint schemes, some different tests, and having fun there. And then obviously this Friday evening, it is, I believe, we're going to the Twiggy Irish Series. I believe they're at Darlington as well. Have to double check here just to make sure that the calendar is the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, it is Darlington. Darlington is that race as well. So a lot of tracks going to Darlington over the next week or so. But for everyone here from ABN, on behalf of HTL, on behalf of EPI and all of HTL's partners, on behalf of everyone here from ABN Studios, my co-commentator Stryxnine Pulsatrix, thank you for carrying me and my hoarse voice through tonight's event. But I'm Carmen Hardy. Thank you all so much for spending your Monday evening with us. We'll see you tomorrow night at Richmond. But until then, stay safe, stay healthier than me. We'll see you next time.